Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. It is another Thoughts and Coffee this morning, and I've got Audrey back. She is fresh off a week of vacation, which I am very, very jealous of, but I get mine in about a week, so I'm looking forward to that. How was it?
So good. So good. Just even, shifting the routine, being able to chill. I was lucky I got to go up to a cottage just north of Toronto, and the swimming was beautiful. We had way too much food. It was perfect. Perfect.
Well, and the weather was really nice, right? Like we
It
were in
was
like
gorgeous.
upper 30s.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was the put on the suit, put on the sunscreen, get your hat, go swimming, dry off, go swimming, more swimming. Yeah.
Nice. I love it.
Great.
Well, I
Yeah.
can't wait for mine. So, we're going to start off this episode with a bit of a recap of what is happening this week on Let's Talk Supply Chain. So, I am going to share my screen. So, this week on the show, we have an episode with Resolink, and I am interviewing Raina Rose, and we're talking about powering the resilient supply chain. We're talking about supply chain mapping. We're also diving into a little bit about her journey to success as a woman in supply chain. And she's got quite the story. She also talks about how her supply chain career has really given her an opportunity to travel, which is something that I really like talking to her about because, I don't know about you, but on my Thoughts and Coffee posts, I've been talking about traveling, I think because I'm missing it so much.
Yeah.
Right?
All
I
the
mean,
places, we can't go right now.
yeah, I know, right? But also coming up on the show, we've got a new video from Andrew Johnson. His show is called From the Front Lines. We've got a new Data Den with Susan Walsh, the classification guru. Both of those are coming out, I believe, today and tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we've got another new Supply Chain Minute with Irina Roska. And then Thursday afternoon, we've got a new blog from Jim Dawson of Global Tax Focus. And he's talking about the importance of considering taxes in your nearshoring and your offshoring debate. And that one is pretty important right now because I don't know about you, but we're talking about, globalization and, we're talking about diversifying manufacturing or diversifying your supplier base. And depending on where you move to is also going to depend on your landed cost of your product, right? Because
Absolutely.
duties change, transportation costs change, all of that
Yeah.
kind of changes, right?
Yeah. And some countries have VAT and consumptive taxes that you might not have thought about when you're picking these moves, right? And
Yeah.
even 3 to 5% is still going to be noticeable.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on a Wednesday, our question of the week is going to be about how likely are you to go back to an in-person conference?
Ooh.
I mean, we're going to talk about this in a second because I posted an article on Sunday about how the borders are closed and how they might be closed till the end of the year. But I'm interested to see whether people will actually go back to in-person conferences, and if they do, are there boundaries? Right? Is it like 100 people in the room? Is it 500 people in the room? Are we going back to the days of thousands of people at a conference and things like that? What do you
Yeah.
think? Like what would you do?
I don't think people have the trust level yet on what our public health is doing, and I
Yeah.
would say that quite across the board. So, unless you're in New Zealand, I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen for a few months.
Well, you know
I
what?
feel pretty uncertain about it.
While we're on this topic, I'm going to show you guys this post that I posted on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
While
It
we're
went
talking about it. And so I saw this article on somebody else's LinkedIn feed, and I thought it was an interesting article to just throw out there because, we were talking about opening the Canadian US border, when that's going to happen, all that kind of stuff. So I said, like, my husband and I, we were supposed to be in Florida the last week of July, but obviously we're not going to be doing that. And we're supposed to go in October, and the talk, like, we're talking about whether we go, whether we don't, is the border going to be open? I don't know. So I posted this article and it got I mean, I'm at over
Oh, wow.
14,000 views on this post, which is crazy to me. I
Yeah.
didn't think that it would draw that much attention, but the amount of divisiveness in the comments.
Yeah.
So AJ has posted the link to this article if you want to go and check it out. But the comments are just amazing. Like, there's some
Yeah.
people that are like, don't wear a mask. There's some people are like, this is fake news. There's some people that are like, I'm absolutely not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of crazy to me where everybody seems to be on the spectrum of, what do we do about borders? Is it safe? Is it not safe?
Mhm.
What do you think?
It's a touchy subject, and I think it's interesting on LinkedIn some of the comments that you're getting because you're like, it's not Facebook where it's kind of your family and friends or sort of more casual. I mean, it is LinkedIn, and so sometimes I don't know. Sometimes when we post, you have to wonder like, are you contributing to this conversation? Are you revealing quite a lot about yourself in this post? It's going to be a sticky topic. I mean, and I don't know if globally, I'm sure there's other countries that have a very tight relationship. Like I'm sure somewhere like the European Union where borders are it's a bit of a different situation. But Canada and the U.S., I mean, it's a big border, and it's like our nations work so closely together on so many things. Like I have my dad lives down in the States. I have family down
Mhm.
in the States. Like someone else might their job has them crossing the border every week for work. So I mean it's a sticky hot mess of a topic. And then there's the fact that we're all stressed out from being at home and living through a pandemic, right? So it's
Yeah,
like already it was kind of this very, very, challenging, but fruitful relationship. And then now
yeah,
it's like, well, and we just have to watch that we're being respectful and, these
yeah.
conversations are important and people's uncertainty and, being
Yeah.
discussed. But at the
Well, and
same
I
time, we
had
can't make it a black and white and you can't, we have to be
no
somewhat
shame.
respectful, right, of
Yes.
other people's situations and governments, and no one's perfect. So,
And
when
how
you
they
go
feel
on and
about
it's
it.
like, wow, this response has been perfect. You're like, has it? Like, let's take that stuff down. But
Well, I
no,
had
it's interesting to see how it's flared up. Like this post that
I know.
because you said like it's an interesting article. It kind of looks into it, and then you're just the comments and back and forth has just exploded.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I had a conversation with a couple of people that I know yesterday,
yeah.
and some were still at stage 1. Some were like
Yes.
they're
Yeah.
doing the stage 1, 2, and 3 to themselves and their families,
Yes.
depending on their situation. So,
Yes.
regardless of whether we're at stage 2 or stage 3 or stage 1,
Yeah.
people are governing themselves
Yeah.
according to what they are comfortable with, which
Exactly.
I think is great, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the government can only do so much. We're all trying to figure this thing out,
Of
and
course.
people are
Of
comfortable
course.
in different scenarios. And like you said, we've just got to respect that. So, a couple of people that are joining us today.
Yeah.
Chitan says hello. Srijus says hi. Vinay, hi. Junith, hi. We've got a LinkedIn user. I don't see who that is, but they said good morning. So, good morning
Oh,
to
good morning.
you. Gabrielle, hello. And then Robert says, I saw a report yesterday that
Yeah.
truckload traffic is back to pre-COVID levels. That is
Yeah.
a good thing. That
That
definitely
doesn't
is a good
surprise me.
thing. And he clarified and said that it's USA to
Okay.
Canada.
Yeah.
Um, as well. So Robert also says we live in
It's a
Chicago. Wife is from Canada. Not looking like regular civilians will be able to cross this year. Yeah, we're kind of hearing the same, and that's what the post was kind of about on Sunday as well.
yeah.
So going back to some of the stuff that we've got coming up, I just want to let you guys know about some events that are coming up. So Thursday, I'm doing a webinar on personal branding with Dana Small. Super excited about this. We are doing it in partnership with procurement leaders. That's at 10 a.m. Eastern on Thursday, and I think we're going to have the link up either during this or a little bit later. You can check back on the LinkedIn post. We've got a new podcast series coming up in August for you. Yes, it's called You Won't Believe What We Have Seen, and I'm doing that in partnership with SQA Services. This is a good one. We're going to be talking about SpaceX and aerospace and saving lives in healthcare and beauty and so much more. And then coming up in September, I'm going to be at the Digital Container Summit with Container Exchange. Actually, I can show you that one because I have that one up on my screen. And so they've got some really great speakers. So if you want to check that out, we'll have the link up for that one. And then I am also going to be speaking with Irina Roska at the CSCMP virtual conference, their EDGE conference, which is their annual conference coming up in September. So if you guys are interested in that, we are going to have the links to those as well. All right, so let's get to my thoughts and coffee post, which was on Sunday. This was before the controversial one. So I talked about some traditions. Right. And when I travel, I think, like I said earlier, I think we're all kind of missing travel. And so some of my thoughts and coffee posts have been about traveling. And I thought I would let everybody in on some of the traditions that I generally have when I'm traveling. And that is to eat a Big Mac wherever I go. So I have a Big Mac in the different countries that I go to whenever I travel. I listed all of the countries and the places that I've traveled to. And I did my best place for a Big Mac, was Korea. South Korea. So they delivered it on a bicycle. And I don't know if you know this about the Big Mac, but obviously there's a lot of lettuce, little pieces of lettuce, and they kind of go everywhere, usually. Well, when it was delivered to me, the presentation was immaculate. Like, it had cardboard around it. There was not a piece of lettuce out of place. So Korea gets my thumbs up for the best place to get a Big Mac. Worst was Spain. Not going to lie. Barcelona was not my favorite for a Big Mac. And then runners up was Austria and Greece. Do you have any traditions that you do when you're traveling? Oh, I think you froze on me. That's okay. Anyways, what I loved about this post was that I had people comment from all over the place, and it seems that everybody has a bunch of traditions when they're traveling. Daniel Stanton was talking about the coffee and the coffee wherever he goes. You know, he tries it in different places, and he's kind of got like a ranking system. And then Kevin was really, really funny because he was like, I literally thought I was the only person that does the exact same thing with the Big Mac, but he said that Japan was the best place for it. And then Larry actually jumped in because he was saying that there's an article in The Economist that also uses the Big Mac as a measure of price parity or burgonomics, which I thought was amazing. Audrey, are you back? Yeah, there you go. So do you have any traditions when you travel?
I travel, gosh, to make sure I get out. If I'm going to a conference or a meeting, just make sure I have enough time to do a little bit of exploring. You can't always cram in everything that you want, but just finding at least one thing in that city to kind of explore is always kind of a thing that I do.
Yeah, there was somebody else on the post.
That's like a big thing.
Yeah, there was somebody else on the post that was talking about exploring the neighborhoods and different things like that. And I think that that's amazing. I love doing that too. Good morning, Christina. You are working from your backyard. I wish that I was in my backyard. I might be in my backyard a little bit later, although I have to record 2 podcasts this afternoon. So I don't think I'll be in my backyard until later. Good morning, Laura. We've also got Prabha Garin. Good evening from Saudi Arabia, and Jamie from Peru. Thank you so much for everybody for joining us today. I think what we're going to get to next is our supply chain topics. And one of them that I thought was very, very interesting, again, comes from The Hustle, and it talks about shipping containers and how they're using shipping containers for tiny houses. Have you heard of this, Audrey?
Yeah, for sure. This started. I had this idea on like a fresh home, or I don't know. I saw it like 4 or 5 years ago, but now it's actually kind of hitting. You had the sort of outlier who kind of got it started, and now it's kind of hitting the mainstream. Like, hey, why don't we do this?
Well, I think it's kind of funny too, right? Like how hot would it be? Like if you were in really
or would it be cool?
places.
Like if you got it inside dug into part of the earth, maybe it'd be a bit cooler. I don't know. I still think you need heating and cooling.
Well, you would need heating and cooling. I was just thinking that like if you've ever hand bombed a container in the middle of summer, anywhere, like it's really, really hot.
You're like, don't do this. Don't.
So when I saw the article, I'm like, this is a great idea, but I just don't know about heating and, air, depending on where you're going to be. I've also seen them using shipping containers for swimming pools as well, which I thought was a really cool idea.
Yeah.
So the pool idea I can get behind. This one I can get behind too, but at the same time, I'd just be a little bit wary about the I'd be wary about the heat and the air conditioning and all that kind of stuff. So, but I thought it was a really cool idea.
Warehouse workers. But there's going to be a lot of warehouse workers, truckers, like crane operators who are like, no.
Oh, you keep cutting out just a little bit.
Yeah. Or they're going to be those people who are like obsessed with it and like, yes, bring my work home. I will live in the thing that I work at in a container.
So one of the people in this article says that Caroline lady that's quoted in the article, a basic model starts at $49,000 and it ticks off a lot of boxes on my green dream home bucket list with solar panels, rainwater tanks, and more. I mean, obviously a shipping container doesn't come with all of that. So you would have to add that on. But yeah, no, I think that we'd really need to talk a little bit more about how it would be in the summer and how much air conditioning you would have to use to keep it cool.
Just saying. You'd be grilling that designer, that architect. You'd be just like, okay.
Well, I'd have a lot of questions. I mean,
there's a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions. Maybe I start with the swimming pool.
Yes. I could just gradually work into it. Yeah.
All right. So the next topic that we have is 6 months that changed the supply chain world forever. Well, and this one's from Supply Chain Digest, isn't that, just the best topic to an article that really can describe what's been happening in the last 6 months? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, that is just amazing. I mean, so what they're talking about in this article is the impact of the virus, short, medium, and long term, right? Because we keep talking about the immediate impact. Obviously, there's a different impact depending on how we're looking at it. And most of what we've seen already, there's still a lot that we can't determine moving forward in the long term and what that actually means to not only our personal lives, but our professional lives and what that means to supply chains. I mean, I was just talking to somebody the other day and we were talking about, inventory management. And I know we've mentioned this on the show before that inventory management is a huge supply chain management skill right now. So if you're looking to upskill or anything like that, inventory management is the place to be. But I also brought up, something that we were talking about earlier, where all of that inventory that was previously purchased and all of the stores closed and they were either being put into warehouses or they were kept in containers and things like that. We really haven't heard about what's been happening with that inventory. Where did it go? What are they doing with it? Are they repurposing it? Is it waste? Yeah. I'm sure people don't want to be talking about that, but it's really, really, really important.
Yeah. You would hate to see, I mean, especially in certain industries, there's already a lot of talk about the high waste costs, and stuff like fashion and in my industry and cosmetics. So yeah, you would hate to see stuff that's like, well, we would have had it in the store in March and April, but now since it's out of season, we're just going to trash it. And you don't want to see that. It's like, no, just put it on the market. See what you can do. I've seen a lot of retailers do some kind of unique sales, where you're like, oh, that retailer doesn't normally have a sale like that at this time, but you can tell it's kind of like COVID clearance or something where they're just trying to keep some of it moving by doing some price reductions. So.
Yeah, and some of what this article is saying as well is how the Zoom meeting has morphed overnight from lightly used business technology to the key tool to connect how we to connect us now, at-home workers and servicing the consumer e-commerce life as well. Sure. And the CEOs obviously have seen over the last few months how the productivity didn't fall as sharply as they thought it would. And so now they're also rethinking that expensive office space, which we have also talked about previously as well, which, I think like they're saying in this article, there's so much more to come and so much more that we're going to see. And we talked about this actually on the Trade Squad. AJ, put that back up for me. So Thomas Smiley says, why don't retailers rethink what they have always done? Just spin it. People will still buy it. That's a really, really great point. And, like I was just saying, we really don't know what this looks like and what's going to happen. And so I think we just have to try it and see if people will buy it. They should still buy it because they might want it. The only thing is, especially in, clothing, is obviously trends. Right. So you're buying for spring trend. Spring kind of went out the window in 2020. What is that trend going to look like for 2021? And can you repurpose what you bought for spring 2020?
And it's more the is it athleisure or are you buying ball gowns for the events that you're not going to? So I think they've hit a real, if you're a prom dress supplier or something, like, oh, that was a tough couple of months, right?
Yeah.
So it's again, like most of our industries, there's so many variables, and then this has really created, a lot of ripple effects. So it's interesting.
Well, and it's like the Walmart comment, more people are going in to buy tops than they are to buy bottoms because nobody is actually needing bottoms because you only see from here.
No one sees them anymore.
Which is super, super funny. So the next one, which I thought was pretty interesting, and I need to actually find the other link, was this Walmart's challenging Amazon Prime. So what did you think when I sent you this article? I mean, we keep hearing about Walmart versus Amazon and how is that whole thing going to play out, but Walmart is really driving this thing forward.
You know what? Good for them because, I think one, there is space to compete against Amazon, and two, Amazon needs some competition. So they really think they have a big demand on the market share, and some of their kind of behaviors just indicate that they think they're a sort of lone wolf into the market. So it's interesting to see what Walmart's coming up with. And Walmart has a very dedicated customer base. Like people, it's a one-stop shop for a lot of people. So for them to be able to re-up some of the extra services and that line up with the uncertainty in these times and meet their customer needs, like, let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, well, part of this article, did I change the article?
You did.
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. That was our next one. So we'll get to that one in a minute. Part of what this article talks about is the shopping trends. And what they're seeing from consumers is that they want to spend bigger portion of their dollars at fewer retailers. And so that's where the Walmart and the Target, because they sell everything from beer to broccoli to baseball bats, is what they're saying, and office supplies, is that they are going to see a lot of those dollars coming towards the Walmart and the Target, which really doesn't do a lot for our small business. And I want to, throw that out there, is also to look at shopping locally as well, because those small business really need our support right now. But because we're talking about Walmart and we're talking about this article, I mean, it really kind of makes sense if you're going to shop online. And I know for me, looking at delivery costs, right? If I
Yeah.
can consolidate it all and then not have to pay a delivery cost, then that's an added bonus for me.
Yeah, Amazon still is a bit rough on, if it's an Amazon warehouse purchase or if it's an Amazon reseller purchase. And they're still not as neat, I would say, on being able to consolidate all your deliveries into one, or being able to
Yeah.
communicate to you that things like, oh, this will only be ready on this day and this will be ready and this will be ready. So you end up getting multiple packages or multiple shipping charges. So yeah, it's something that I think still needs a little bit of tweaking there to make
Yeah.
it a stronger customer experience.
Well, and I also think where Walmart could really maybe come out on top is for the packaging. So I've been talking to a lot of people that are
Mm-hmm.
really upset with the packaging that they get from Amazon.
Yeah.
And this is a
Yeah.
global thing because I'm talking to people in the
Yeah.
UK and
Yeah.
globally, and they're
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
ordered this
Thailand, India. Yeah.
tiny thing and it comes in
Yeah.
this big box with a whole bunch of tonnage. And
Yeah.
I know people are really looking into that and paying attention to that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I think where Walmart can really come out on top is to pay attention to the packaging. So hopefully they're listening. Thomas Smiley comes up
Trying
again.
to.
He says Walmart is in a unique position with their
Yes.
established stores to continue to build on quick pickups, home delivery, etc. They just need to take the gamble, use their stores as mini DCs, basically. Yes. And we have seen this a lot, even pre-COVID. I don't know about you, but in the grocery stores, right? I am competing for stuff on the shelves with the stockists in the grocery stores that are doing the,
filling like the Instacarts and their
yeah.
express services, their grocery express.
Yeah. So that's a really great point. Okay, because we are coming near the end, let's get to this one. So Uber is going to launch a US grocery delivery service this month, which is I mean, it's not really that crazy. It's kind of a natural progression to what they're doing. It's just going to add a little bit more stress, I think, to their last mile functions, and it'll be interesting to see how they do it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that's a tough one because they're coming right up against some established players like an Instacart and or Uber Eats, I guess. But no, I think it's like the competition, having that pivoted idea. It's always worth it, right? Worth it to see and just see if they can pull it off. I think going back to the Walmart conversation, some of the retailers are better equipped to facilitate curbside pickups, drop-offs, and like you going to the store and just picking something up. But some of the smaller businesses might not be. So it'll be interesting to see what the fee structure is, what the charges are for us to choose this as a service option. But it could really alleviate some of the hesitancy with us just choosing mass retailers because it's sort of easier. It's interesting. It's very interesting.
So the article talks about how they are partnering with a company called Corner Shop, which is a Chile-based grocery app, which is kind of cool, that they acquired last year, it says. And they're saying that the orders can be fulfilled in under 2 hours. Now, they're in Canada. I know they're partnering with Walmart and Metro, which is kind of a funny thing, right? Because Walmart, in our last discussion, we talked about them sort of driving forward and coming out on top. But then they've also partnered with Uber to be able to deliver groceries to their customers as well. But being fulfilled in under 2 hours, I'd be interested to find out how they're currently fulfilling their online orders and how backed up they are, because I know somebody that orders from them. And especially during COVID, I mean, they were looking at a week to 10 days before they could pick up their order. So I don't know how they're going to do that. But they are also saying that shoppers with Uber Pass and Uber Eats memberships will get free delivery on any order over $30, which I think is good too.
Oh, wow. I mean, the incentives, right? But this leads back to your point too about packaging, because I would think that some of the issues with Amazon having sort of excess packaging was people rushing and people operating under these COVID conditions where maybe they were used to working with 6 people on their team, and because of spacing, now they're down to 3 people. So when you're
Right.
grabbing stuff off the shelf, you're just grabbing a box, and then it's like, this doesn't exactly fit, but I have to make it fit because I have to finish, right? So I think maybe we don't hear a lot about the time limits put on employees in store, like in Walmart picking your order, or at Metro picking your order, or
Yeah.
at, what, Publix or whatnot. But I would assume that they have, you have to have it done in this amount of time, and then what do you lose when you've made time the priority, right?
Yeah.
And we find that at Orchard. What do we lose when we've made time the priority? Well, cost. It means we have to spend a little bit more, or we're
Right.
rushing, so we kind of cut a couple of corners by shoving in a bunch of just bubble instead of finding an appropriately sized box.
Right.
So
And that's a
I don't
really good
know.
point. So,
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad that the topics today kind of covered,
Yeah.
last mile and
Yeah.
some of the things that we need to consider, but it'll be interesting to watch how this relationship with Uber and how Uber is going to drive this grocery delivery forward, especially with that promise of 2 hours, because
Yeah.
they can't control how Walmart or Metro or whoever they're partnering with
Yeah.
is going to do that unless they're sending in people to do that. And that is a sticky situation in itself, depending on how they're social distancing and the new rules. And obviously,
Yeah. And
privacy
unions and
concerns,
laborers
insurance
and
concerns, that kind of thing. I'm not saying that that is what they're doing. Um,
uh,
but if they're partnering with that company, I think I need to do a little bit more of a deep dive into that as well. So Daniel, just to answer your questions, greeting from London. I know you just logged in and you missed most of this, but this will actually be held in our LinkedIn page over at Let's Talk Supply Chain, so you can watch it all over again once we end the broadcast. I want to say hi to everybody who joined us today. There's so much amazing conversation happening in the comments over on LinkedIn. So if you're on this show, go and talk to each other. Send each other some comments, communicate with each other, tell them what you think, answer some of their questions. And I will be doing the same after this broadcast as well. So thank you so much for everybody for joining us for another Thoughts and Coffee. We hope you have an amazing week. Bye.
Bye, guys.